So for those of you who saw Abby's email, we took your feedback from the last meeting, incorporated it into the one-pager. We didn't receive any additional email feedback, and so our thought was, we want to get started on getting the work done as soon as possible, so we would go through it today, and if folks are comfortable, we were going to take a vote on it. If that's the case and we vote to approve it, Abby will send out a doodle poll to start meeting in June, to start getting to work on our first milestone in the one-pager. But I'll pause if there was anything you wanted to flag for us before we kind of get into it and move to vote there. And I'll share my screen to show you guys to bring it back up to your.
The only thing that caught my mind, Tori, was the way that dairy was accounted for. It says butter and cheese, and I wasn't sure if we just change that to dairy, because we do have fluid milk and whey and many other products, and it is a very, very large part of our egg economy.
Done. Changed it to dairy.
Yep.
Easy fix there, but yes, it makes sense. So I will share my screen unless there's anything else folks wanted to flag prior. Assuming we can all see it.
You can make it a little bigger if you wanted to.
Yes, I can. All right, I will start with the situation. And we can make live edits here as we go if there's anything folks need to change, but there was an ask for us to define agriculture. So we've tried to keep the definition as broad as possible. So agriculture, which this committee recognizes as the cultivation of Vermont land and livestock, is embedded in Vermont's history and continues to be a critical piece of our economic vitality. The state contributes roughly $11.3 billion in agriculture-related output per year. This includes products like vegetables, maple syrup, poultry, dairy, timber, and more. As of 2022, Vermont has roughly 6,800 farms, and we estimate that a vast majority are experiencing a workforce crisis. Additionally, Vermont continues to lose its total cropland, increasing the likelihood of food insecurity for residents. Outside of Vermont, employers working directly in the sector, the agricultural industry is supported through entities like UVM Extension, 4-H, the Agency of Agriculture, food co-ops, and other stakeholders. All groups involved acknowledge that while Vermont has demand and infrastructure to support a growing agriculture sector, we do not have the labor force to advance as a state and fill key roles. In turn, Vermont employers must limit their output, putting pressure on already tight profit margins. We must provide resources to build a sustainable pipeline to bolster Vermont's agriculture sector and enable the industry to flourish for generations to come. Allie?
Yes, one other thing that just popped out as you were reading it that I didn't catch before is timber. Oftentimes in ag, we take responsibility for syrup in the maple production, but timber is FPR, and I recognize that our ag committee over in the State House has forestry, but we do not have representation on this committee, anybody from FPR, so I don't want to step out of our lane if we should not be including timber.
Okay. I know last time we discussed whether or not we wanted to include forestry or not, and if we do, we should, Abby and I can get someone on the committee that would be representative, but
that'd be great. We oftentimes do cross the sectors, and I would say that our Working Lands Enterprise Board has representation from forestry, and I think it's good to leave it in there if we're willing to bring somebody from FPR or the forestry industry in here. Otherwise, we should probably keep it just a syrup.
Kirsten?
So I think I was the one that suggested including the forestry sector. Do they fall somewhere else in
not
this?
in our committee structure?
Okay.
So I think we could bring someone in to the one or two people with the expertise.
Okay.
To the committee.
Yeah, I think that would be good, excluding them. Probably, I wouldn't advise excluding them at all, given their impact on the sector, or on the economy. So my question is, about 3/4 of the way down, you say in turn, Vermont employers must limit their output. That's a big statement. Is that Do you have the data to back that up, or is it all anecdotal?
That is anecdotal. But I mean, generally speaking, with smaller labor forces, people are limiting output, not necessarily just in dairy or just in agriculture, but I do not have the data for that, but we could soften that.
Okay.
Like we could say, could potentially limit
Vermont
their output.
employers may have to limit their output.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. And I know that's a tiny thing, but somebody reading it would be like, well, geez, no company's meeting their goals or margins if that's the case.
Right. Okay. Easy fix there. Other thoughts?
One other way to put it would be, inability to staff up would constrain growth opportunities. Maybe it doesn't limit what they're currently doing and they're doing more with less, but certainly the ability to grow and prosper and provide additional output is often constrained.
Okay, so we could say inability to fill key staffing roles could limit growth opportunities for these, for
It doesn't just limit, it also puts stress on the current staff, and we hear that often.
okay, so limit growth opportunities and I'm trying to think of a way to say that other than stress.
Pressure.
Put more responsibility on, or yeah, more pressure.
Pressure existing.
And I know I've asked this before, but does this capture folks like us and on-farm employment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the support system related to agriculture. And obviously on-farm employment.
Or maybe you need to put it and exert pressure or something like that.
Oh yeah, could limit rather than exert. How's that? Other thoughts? I can move on to the next section unless we have more changes. Okay. So the solution, obviously, we're just going to, this committee is just going to solve the agriculture workforce shortage. To relieve the sector's workforce shortage, this committee must provide solutions to better engage with potential sector employees already located in Vermont. They must also address common barriers to employment. In addition to looking at the current workforce population, the committee must look at Vermont youth and current program offerings, give some examples, to better engage individuals in the agriculture sector at a young age. These combined efforts will ensure that Vermont's agriculture sector not only has a current vibrant workforce, but is built out sustainably. Thoughts or changes there?
Pretty strong statement that we must provide that would indicate that we're going to come up with the solutions, maybe seeks to provide or something.
Yes.
Not sure whether we, I mean, that's
Yep.
what we're trying to do, but
Yeah, that's good. Seeks to provide solutions to better engage. Yeah.
And who's they? The committee?
Yeah, we can change that. Other thoughts or changes? Okay. Committee will establish and strengthen the sector's pipeline to better engage with Vermont's workforce while providing ongoing resources to sector employees. That's our long-term action overarching mission. And then just going through this before we go to milestones, we've got Agency of Ag, UVM Extension, Farm to Plate, colleges and universities as our lead partners. Committee role, sustainably engage with sectors, workforce, and develop employer resources. And by January of 2025, our final, one of our final ones is the committee hosts multiple events per year to engage with students, with sector employers.
Is there potential for farm viability to assist and be a lead partner as well?
Yes. Abby, don't kill me if I mess up our formatting here.
I mean, if there is a component that this committee needs to, work on, and we're leaning on partners, farm viability might be a place to park some funding to help in some of these goals. No, not Forest Parks and Rec. Farm viability. They're at BHCD.
I added them, but I figured we should add FDR.
Gotcha. Okay, I see it.
Doing timber.
Excellent.
Other thoughts there before I move on to the milestones? Great. Okay. So the first step, by December of 2023, the committee will develop an inventory of Vermont employers looking to engage with agriculture-focused students. So this would be what we'd start working on in June, which is essentially, obviously it's not going to be an exhaustive list, but essentially cataloging businesses that would be interested in participating in events where we're connecting them with students, mentoring students, getting general outreach. Thoughts on number one? But just if I can't see everyone because I'm looking at my screen. So if you just yell it out if you have a problem or a question. By January of 2024, the committee will develop an employer toolkit focused on hiring foreign labor. By June of 2024, the committee will develop an outreach plan to connect Vermont agriculture employees with potential employees, students. By September of 2024, the committee is executing the outreach plan connecting Vermont's employers with students. By December of 2024, the committee will develop an informational sheet on how to obtain a CDL and promote the document. Starting in January of 2025, the committee will host no less than 3 events for elementary, middle, and high school or college-age students with the purpose of engaging with the agriculture community. By September of 2025 and every year thereafter, the committee will evaluate the effectiveness of the employer/employee outreach plan and will make changes as needed. I will note that we have in the overarching piece of our entire strategic plan, each year there's a time where we just take a look at our strategic plan and make sure that it fits with our goals and mission, and it's still relevant. And every 3 years we have it so that they can, you could do a full rewrite if we wanted to. So, as we go through this process, if there's things that somehow something changes and it's no longer relevant, we can make tweaks as we go. But I'll pause for the milestones and any comments or feedback there.
Tori, I just have a comment. Anson and I have been contacted by an individual, and actually Roy may be aware of this situation too. The individual had come last year, I believe, as part of an intern, worked at the Maple with Mark Isselhart at UVM. He's interested in coming back under the humanitarian parole program. We found an employer that's willing to hire, but we cannot find a sponsor. And I'm not sure if that would be something that this committee would be willing to work on how to secure sponsors and employers for those that are coming in under these programs. we've contacted the individuals that, in our network that are running those programs, and there doesn't seem to be any network to find them sponsors.
Yeah, maybe what we do with that first inventory is how I see it going is when we're doing outreach to the businesses, it's kind of like the only way I can think about it is the campaign realm, because that's what I'm used to, where it's like we say like volunteer for a campaign and you can like check a box of basically what you're willing to do, like put out a lawn sign, make phone calls, do whatever. And I think we could do something like that where it's like if we're talking to employers and Abby and I are doing outreach, we could say, you're willing to attend an event, be a sponsor in this situation, like we could build out what those different types of things we're looking for. So then when you or Anson or anyone has like, we have this person, we're looking, we kind of have like this network of people that we already know are interested in doing something like this. Because I think that would be useful.
That it would be useful. And the other component to it is many folks don't know what it means, the undertaking of being a sponsor. So they aren't certain what the financial or even, providing a roof over their head for how long, the whole time they're here, or 6 months till they get on their feet. And it would be nice if we could put together that sort of information so that one of us is working with these individuals, we can provide concrete info instead of just saying, yeah, we need a sponsor.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we can do that
So
and make it a
Allison-
part of. Go ahead, Roy.
Yes.
This is very interesting because that's what I've been thinking as we were going through this whole thing. I was thinking, when do I insert my thoughts on this specific thing? Full disclosure, I'm just coming back from vacation. What kind of vacation? I was off for 10 days and I was in the British Virgin Islands. And while there, I actually spoke to this gentleman through what you call it, WhatsApp thing. And so I did assure him that we would continue to look at this issue. But of course, there's a broader issue of how do we deal with this holistically, because it's not just him. There's other opportunities for people to come into the state of Vermont and work. But because I've been on vacation and just got back, I am a little scattered, so I've been silent. I didn't want to say anything that would just make me look like I wasn't here for 10 days.
That's okay, Roy.
But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want me to explicitly put that in one of the bullet points, Allie, or if you want me to just develop it as we're going through this.
Yeah, I see it as part of the toolkit.
Okay, yes, then we can definitely make sure we put that down as a piece of it.
Yeah, there's so many different scenarios when you look at our higher ed and the individuals that are here from another country. It seems to me that we ought to do an inventory of those that wish to stay here and figure out, if they can get on an EB3, H1B. There's different visas that they can secure. The other thing is trying to figure out who we have for immigration attorneys in the state or region that are willing to help these individuals, the employers, the sponsor, to make the connections of the dots.
Yeah, I'd like to, my goal with that is make it as understandable and easy as possible, almost like a choose your own adventure is how I'm seeing it, either whether it lives on our website where they can kind of they know the next question to ask and then what the resources are. Because as you know, there are plenty of people who are willing to put in some of the money to do this. It's so complicated and they don't understand what the undertaking or what the total cost is. So could be very useful.
Agreed.
Are we saying here that one of the things that we probably ought to do is to provide some understanding to employers of the processes for visa type kind of hiring of people from overseas?
I see it as threefold because I think the employers need the information. The sponsor in this case will need information as well as a prospective employee. The humanitarian parole program really is about connecting three different dots to provide a place for them to live, come here, have the sponsor. And they don't come with a vehicle. So sometimes the sponsor will need to assist them in getting to work until they can afford a vehicle. And then making sure that the employer knows it's a 2-year, correct, Tori?
Yeah.
The parole program is 2 years.
Yeah, so understanding the
And-
commitment.
Yeah, and after the 2 years, I don't know if he needs to go home. Something through education could secure an H-1B or EB-3, different various visas. If the employer and the employer engaging with an immigration attorney, they could likely accomplish that.
Other thoughts or feedback from folks?
Or that last bullet on milestones, I wonder, instead of the they, it kind of, if you just say employee outreach plan and we'll make changes as needed.
Thought about that. Could we start with the word changes will be, just could we say changes will be made as needed? It would shorten it, would not push the template out of whack.
Oh, that's okay. Poor Abby has to deal with me changing her templates all the time and changes. But if it's. All right. Any other thoughts or feedback? So we have more than half the committee here, so we can vote on this if you all are comfortable.
I'm comfortable with it. I think that's a pretty clear one-page synopsis of what our challenge and action plan is. So I would move to approve it as our final draft here.
Okay, any second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor? Hand raisers. Great, it is approved. So we will send out this with the final changes to you all, and Abby will send out a doodle poll for us to start meeting in June and start getting to work.
Excellent. Thank you all.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate this and helping us workshop some of the changes. So I'm excited about what we're gonna get started working on.
Me too. Very ambitious.
You know me. All right, have a good one.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Have a nice day,
Allison,
everyone.
before we
Excellent.
close,
Bye.
You too.
Allison,
Thank you.
Allison, if you have any thoughts on